After a painful 8-year-long battle, 300 of over 5,000 former Aurora mine employees will finally get their salaries owed to them for years.
Aurora was liquidated in 2010 and trade union Solidarity has been trying to recoup workers' pay from its directors, who included former President Jacob Zuma's nephew Khulubuse and Nelson Mandela's grandson Zondwa. In 2015, the Pretoria High Court found the directors liable in damages for the destruction of Aurora's Grootvlei and Orkney mines.
Close to a decade of pain and suffering, Ndate Musala Nkahle, just one of the Aurora mine employees. He's been surviving on goodwill and will have to do so for a little longer. He is not among those receiving their monies just yet.
This situation has affected us for years. Some have died, others are sick, others opted just to go home. The money still hasn't come. Our lives are just tough.
Solidarity says 300 of the 5,300 workers have started receiving outstanding monies.
There is about 5 million rand still left for other claimants to submit their claims, and we will go on a roadshow for the next 2 months to see if we can't submit more claims. But then there are also talks between ourselves and the liquidators and the Master of the High Court to see if we can't also look at goodwill claim payments, where we pay a 3,000 rand flat amount to those who can at least prove they used to work for Aurora.
Some claims will be resubmitted because documentation was incomplete. Ndate Musala Nkahle's claim is said to be amongst the 1,000 that Solidarity says it will resubmit to the Master of the High Court by September. Now Nkahle is pinning his hopes on a payout by December and a far more festive Christmas than that of the past 8 years. A number of employees did not submit claims. On average, successful claimants will receive 28,000 rand. For 75-year-old Ndate Musala, perhaps even more than just a ticket to return to his home in Lesotho. Chriselda Lewis, SABC News in Springs.
All right, let's get a little bit more from Chriselda Lewis. She's in studio with us on the case. Thank you for being with us. So why only 300 of more than 5,000? And how do they pick those 300?
You have to recall, Francis, that it's not all of the miners who managed to submit their claims. You still got Solidarity asking many others to come forward and submit those claims. Of that 300, those are of the miners or former Aurora employees who'd correctly filled out their documentation and had sent it to the relevant authorities before this payout was made. So you've got about an additional 1,000 at this stage that have had to be resubmitted to the Master of the High Court because of technicalities, including perhaps not filling out your details correctly. So it's 300 at the moment, but we could see as early as September or even October an additional 1,000. But what Solidarity says it's going to do now, in addition to the 1,300, is to go on a roadshow for the next 3 months to try and get others. Remember, it's been a protracted battle, so others have even gone home to different countries. Others have gone back to the rural areas. So some might not have known about how far this process has reached at this stage.
So is this an admin issue? So if they come forward and they fill in the right documents, all the 5,300 will be paid. Is their money allocated for everyone?
That's right. What we do understand is that there is 5 million rand left of what is going to be paid out. And what Solidarity says is that you've got to prove, of course, you can't just have anyone claim that they were working for Aurora and decide that they want to put in a claim for some money. So there's a stringent process that is followed, Francis, and part of that is to prove that you did work for Aurora at the time. And hence Solidarity will be going on this roadshow to try and raise awareness from possibly those who have long left this particular area and don't know what to do any further.
Yeah, and why would they have hung around? Yeah. Eventually these mine shafts were closed, but what is the period period of non-payment? Remind us.
Francis, if we look back for the past 8 years, you'd recall, of course, in 2015, where the directors, including the nephew of former President Jacob Zuma, Khulubuse, as well as the grandson of the late Nelson Mandela, Zondwa Mandela, were part of the directors. They were found liable in a court of law for stripping the Aurora mine. Remember, there had been quite a scandal involving when the mine decided to close down, when it was being liquidated, that the assets on the mine itself were being stripped. So
by the directors, let's be clear.
By the directors of this particular, that's what the court found. So you have an instance where for the past 8 years you've had these employees that have been going through such difficulty, and not just that, these are people who had to go out and borrow over the past 8 years. Now, what's very interesting here, Francis, is that in terms of the Act states that none of these claimants, not a single one of them, will receive anything more than 28,000 rand. So these are people over the years who've gone to get loans. These are people over the years who've tried to make ends meet, to try and find peace jobs. Who says all of that is not going to go towards paying back debt that you already have? So they've been in suffering for more than over 8 years now, Francis, if I can just point that out.
So what happened to the directors? Maybe just define quickly what went wrong in the first place, and what happened after that court case.
Essentially what went wrong is that the mine itself couldn't basically continue with its operations, and to add insult to injury was that clearly the miners who were at this particular mine, you remember with the guilty verdict, this involved the Oak Bay as well as the Aurora mines. So once that verdict had been reached, you found that the directors of the companies basically did not care what had happened, and when Solidarity went after them to try and recoup the monies of the miners, they basically did not want to pay up. It's only until recently that I also heard from Solidarity that 3 or 4 of the directors did manage to cough up a couple of million rand. Hence, we see the miners themselves being paid at this stage. So you had culpability on the part of the directors who simply did not care about the future of the workers and thought that they were going to get away with it. But once the court had found them guilty of including stripping the mine after they decided that the mine itself was not going to work anymore, if Solidarity and other unions, of course, did not come to the table, these miners certainly would not be sitting in this position at this time.
All right, thank you for the update, Chriselda Lewis. So 300 getting paid, maybe 1,000 more, and they will be looking for additional mine workers to come forward. Now, staying with the sector, mining union AMCU has threatened strike action if common ground on alternatives to retrenchments is not found during negotiations with Impala Platinum. AMCU President Joseph Matunjwa has vowed to bring the platinum producer to its knees to save thousands of jobs. Impala Plat recently announced it planned to retrench 13,000 workers over the next 2 years. Matunjwa was speaking during a media briefing in Johannesburg.
If Impala is owning some mines somewhere in Limpopo, we'll apply for the secondary strike to make it sure that there is no ounce of platinum that goes out from the ground. And surely, you know, we are capable of doing that. We are not bluffing.
SABC News celebrates Women's Month.
We've now passed the National Youth Policy, which guides all departments, because when you talk about youth development, you're not just talking about what the NYDA must do. It's what every other department must do. Sports and recreation, social development, the police and everybody else.
We need a solution. We need, if need be, let the president address us once a month and tell us what is he doing about youth unemployment.
Political consciousness that those young brave leaders had. You would remember very well that it was rife politically.
It's not actually operating in compliance with our rules and regulations. We really take stern action.
We all have a responsibility as South Africans to play our part in strengthening our democracy and building an ever better and prosperous South Africa.
Join your host, JJ Tabani, on Frankly Speaking every Sunday at 8:30.